Howdy, Ags. AP from the Tailgate, home of Aggie Football. Brought to you by Frida Homes, Building Aggie Dreams, FridaHomes.com. Check them out. Give them a call. See some of their products. Go build a home. Everybody loves their home. Folks, don't forget to email us at agstailgate@gmail.com. Send us some commentary, questions for the tailgate. Also, go to the YouTube channel, subscribe. That way you get your notifications, baby. Send us some commentary, man. We'll get you on the show. Corey, what's up?
What's up, buddy?
How you doing, man?
Doing well. Just ready to get this thing going.
Good.
Ready to do it.
Good weekend this weekend for the Ags, baby.
Great weekend.
Big win over the Razorbacks. 23-21 at Jerry World. Number 10, Arkansas. And look, what's impressive about that is I actually think Arkansas is a good team, right? I don't, unlike Miami, I think this is a good, high-quality win over a team that's going to end the season ranked probably in the top 15, maybe the top 10.
Really? You think they'll be that high?
Well, I do. Look,
they got Bama this week. I mean, if they lose to Bama, that's 2 losses in a row. And might knock them. Plus, they weren't very convincing against Missouri State or whatever. So, I mean, I think they might
we'll
fall.
see. We'll see. Obviously, the Bama game is going to be huge for them. Seeing what they can do against that crew, who really started to put some things together against Vandy, but it is Vandy.
Well, is Arkansas's defense that bad? I guess we'll talk about it.
So, bigger, I think look, I can't say how impressed I was this past week with this win on Saturday because, honestly, I thought that the players showed up, man. They played with incredible effort, incredible energy. There was no stop. I thought that they helped each other. The energy fed off of each other. So the offensive energy fed off of the defense. The defensive energy fed off of the offense. I thought they played better when the offense scored. The defense played better when the defense came out and made a play. The offense played better. Dude, I might call this the biggest win of the Jimbo era.
You're impressed with the win because you picked Arkansas to win the game. That's why you're impressed.
That could be true, but honestly, no. I'm impressed because it was more than X's and O's here on Saturday, right? I was impressed because they won this thing on heart. They won it on effort, on want to. They showed up and they just wanted it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. I mean, they made some big plays at big times. I mean, it wasn't pretty by any means, but that's the way our season's been so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the other thing. You know, a lot of folks will point to the Bama win last year as the biggest win in the Jimbo era. Of course, you know, that's a big one for sure. There's no doubt about it, especially for recruiting purposes. I mean, that had a huge influence on the 2021 recruiting class that ended up number 1 in the nation and best of all time, according to some sources, right? So it was a big win. However, we already had 2 SEC losses at the time, and we followed it up with 2 more. So how big was it? I don't know. What do you think?
I think beating Alabama anytime is because it rarely happens with anybody. So I think it's bigger to beat Alabama. I mean, this was a big win. Don't get me wrong. Especially this might have saved our season, you know. So
hey, and here's the other part about it. It's like Jimbo says, right? You win the big game. The next one becomes the next biggest game.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Mississippi State is huge going into Alabama the next week, right? So they just keep mounting. And the more you win, the bigger the next one gets. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Well, until you get to UMass, of course.
Yeah, can't lose that one.
So look, the team was shorthanded, man. They just lined up and played. They played hard. They wanted it. They wanted it more. Nothing was, things weren't perfect. but the effort was out of this world, dude. Numbers from this game. 343 total offensive yards to 415 for Arkansas. 4 of 12 on third down compared to 6 of 15 for Arkansas. Here's the key, though. No turnovers. No turnovers to one very, 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 very big turnover on the other side. We'll dive into that. So, the game statistically almost looks like Arkansas's kind of game. They got the better of some of us, except for that. So let's start with the offense, Corey. Look, the production wasn't great offensively. Look, Max, starting with the quarterback, obviously second start for the Aggies, 11 of 21, 151 yards, a touchdown, and then another 39 yards on the ground. Some of those yards on the ground, by the way, huge yards. But once again, just like last week, right? They're not otherworldly sort of stats, right? His numbers are not exactly super impressive.
No.
The touchdown was like a mistake, like he just threw it up for grabs, and it so happened that the only guy looking was Stewart.
Man, he seemed to do that a couple times in that game, throw it up for grabs. I think it was on a third down or something. He threw it to Green. He kept a drive alive. You're like, oh, what's he doing?
Well, and look, the pass interference that he got throwing it to Anias down the middle, and we'll obviously talk about Anias in a little bit.
Yeah.
But that pass interference was into double coverage, right?
Yeah.
And it was underthrown. And
I'm surprised they threw it. I'm really surprised they threw the flag on that, because I thought it was going to be an uncatchable pass or something they were going to call. But
it's a good thing the guy made it very obvious that he grabbed Anias.
I think Anias sold it pretty well.
He sure did. He did a good job. So look, let's talk about Max. And so second start, look, I'm not sure that he progressed a lot from the first start, to be quite honest with you, but he was facing a better team. Miami turned around and lost this week to who?
It was a power school, Middle Tennessee State. Yeah.
Exactly. So look, facing a better team, he didn't look. I'll tell you what, he showed a little bit of rattle behind that offensive line. He was a little more discombobulated.
Arkansas was bringing it, though. Arkansas was bringing the pressure. They weren't holding up. That's who they are. They were bringing it. I thought he did a fine job standing in the pocket. A couple of times he could have stepped up in the pocket a little bit more, or got out of the play. But yeah, he did fine, I thought.
Yeah, and the one thing, and look, this goes to the offense altogether, right? They did try to go down the field some. Now, unfortunately for Max, he missed 2 guys wide open. He missed was it Moose on the post?
He missed Moose
coming across, and Moose barely got a fingertip on it. And then he missed the freshman Marshall. Just a couple of, I think the next drive actually on the post as well, over the top, had him wide open.
That'll come around. I think that'll come.
Yeah, he will start hitting some of those. Just like we've talked before, right? He's gonna take care of the football in most instances. The throw to Anias was that was a bad decision. For the most part, though, his decision-making was okay. He's usually not going to let it go unless he knows it's not going to be intercepted, right?
Yeah.
In most occasions, and he didn't throw an interception.
And that was my big thing about starting Max all season, was he's going to take care of the ball. He's not going to put our defense in bad situations, which he hasn't so far against 2 of the better teams we played. And moving the ball hasn't been that great. It hasn't been pretty. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, I think Max has done a good job. I think he's our quarterback right now that we need.
Yeah. Look, we're just going to have to lean on the defense, right? Because with Max as the quarterback, his offense is never going to be terribly explosive. It's just not his game. It's not, those guys, he threw those balls because those guys were completely wide open, right? 100%, like nobody within 5 yards of him, and he threw that ball. if they've got a guy on him, he's probably holding that ball at that time, which is fine. Look, lean on the defense as long as this defense can hold up. Lean on the defense, right?
And I agree with you. Lean on the defense until he gets a rapport with some of these receivers. You see him and Green starting to come around. He and Ananias has something. Yeah. Stewart, he's only got like 4 or 5 guys he's really throwing the ball to. And of those 4 or 5, he's only throwing the ball to like 2 or 3 of those guys consistently.
Hey, look, a couple of things weren't his fault. I mean, look, Moose looked like he was. Yeah, well, first game, right? He hadn't played all season.
Yeah.
And so he was still getting his bearings about him. You could tell, his routes were a little bit off. He had the jump that, on a play that, could have been a good play. He had the chop block. Yeah, the chop block that brought back a nice gain. So, he was just getting his bearings about him. He was sitting there, and I think he's going to get better with more playing time. And as he goes through, I don't understand why he hadn't been in the game the last couple of weeks. But look, he's a better receiver than Chase Lane.
Yeah. Did you Chase Lane even play? I don't remember seeing Chase.
He played a little bit. Especially later on in the game when Ananias.
I'm really thinking Jimbo's listening to us because we've been talking about sitting Chase because he doesn't have the talent. But I think that Jimbo's got to get these receivers in the game sooner. Like I'm talking like quick passes, get them, get some energy going.
And look, before we go deep into the offense, because I do want to talk just general offense, look, you said it, Green and the tight ends involved, right? A lot of tight end sets, a lot of 2 tight end sets with Green and Max as well in there. So, I thought that helped the offense out a lot. I liked what Green could do in the passing game. You've been talking about it, how impressed you were with him when we saw him in practice and all those things, how athletic he looks, how natural he looks. He's, even last year in that All-Star game, as you saw him, with Connor Wigman, he looks like a natural receiver. And Saturday he showed some of that, man. He had the longest pass play of the game.
Yeah.
3 for 50 on Green, by the way, 3 for 50. And I know those numbers aren't, crazy impressive, but it's a good start if you ask me.
Right.
No real completions down the field, but he threw it a couple of times wide open. So
that keeps the defense honest, just doing that. That's one thing it does. And it helps the running game.
And so let's go to the man. Devon Achane. Devon Achane came out and he looked like, he had something to prove, my friend. 19 carries, 159 yards, touchdown. Then add another couple of receptions, 3 receptions for 15 yards. Dude, the man was possessed on Saturday, and he carried this offense all day long.
Man, that guy was impressive. I was reading today, Mel Kiper's got him up on his big board in the 2nd to 3rd round, and he says he's just moving up. But, the guy, very impressive. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, you can't get the guy the ball enough almost. I mean, he's just so dynamic. He can do anything.
And I'll tell you what, we talked a little bit about it last week. He's starting to get – last week we started to say, he's starting to get comfortable with the vision of the cutback and seeing those things. This past Saturday against Arkansas, he was killing them with the cutback.
Dude, he seemed more patient.
Killing them. Yes.
He seemed more patient. We talked about his running style, about him and Spiller, how Spiller was more patient. That's what he looked like to me. I mean, he looked like he was waiting for the play and he would take it. He took what the defense was giving him, which is, experience. Things are slowing down for him.
I don't want to pat myself on the back a little bit here, but I do because, I love doing that.
Oh, yeah.
But we talked about it in a prior episode, like put him in the pistol, back him up a little bit where he does have a little bit more time before he hits that hole, help him with the patience, help him with his vision on seeing the cutback. And it absolutely helped. As a matter of fact, a couple of the big runs were out of the pistol on Saturday. So, he works well out of that with a little bit more room to sort of let the play develop. I would love to see him just in the eye under center too, with the quarterback under center, because that really gives them an opportunity to sort of see what's going on, right?
Yeah.
And you're right. The patience is getting better. He's seeing it. There was a couple of times where he's cut back a little bit, come back around, setting up those blocks and really making a play. I was 100% impressed with what he did on Saturday. And in all honesty, I think he just gets better and better as the season gets along.
Oh, I agree. I agree with you 100% on that. And the formations, like you were saying, the pistol, the two tight end sets, it all helps. It all plays into A-Chain's hand right there. I mean, that's what we are. We're ball controlled running team right now. We can take our shots downfield with play action, but we got to run the ball like that in order to do play action. So
yeah, and that's another thing. So I want to hit the offensive line real quick before we get into the offense as a whole. But
yeah.
I went back and watched this game as I always do. I sat there play by play, graded out the offensive line, did all those things. I mean, I'm telling you, they're getting better and better. They're getting better and better. This week, they were better than last week against a much better front, by the way. This week, they were better than last week against a better front. They continue to improve. Were there some protection issues? Yes, but in most of those cases, it was they were bringing 6 or 5 guys. Look, as a matter of fact, I think the play where he threw it up in the end zone in the touchdown pass, the 5 offensive linemen, they brought 6. Somebody was coming free, but the entire offensive line pinched down, and the 2 defensive ends come free, basically. They pull Zune across to try to block the other defense. But I don't understand that because he's got one on his side. You understand what I'm saying? He's got one on his side coming free. Like, what are you pulling? He pulls across. Of course, he doesn't get there because the guy's coming straight off the edge, and he pressures Max right off the bat, right? It was a messed up scheme. They did it again later on, and they had trouble with it again. And I don't know, for no freaking reason for that matter. For no freaking reason. Just man up, everybody take one, and then Max has got a hot, right? He's got one to deal with, but at least he doesn't have to deal with 2 like he had to in that play. So, some of the protection issues was just a situation where they brought more than we could block. What are you going to do?
That's what we talked about. The schemes are bad. It's not setting the offensive line up for success. It's tough.
Yeah, because you either have to have an immediate hot in those situations, or you have to keep a back end to help to pick up the 6th guy. Right? We weren't doing those things, but not to focus in on that end. My point here is that the offensive line played very well in the running game. They started to get a lot of movement. There was a lot of those runs by A-Chain where he didn't. I mean, that touchdown run, I don't know that he got touched. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, the O-line, like you said, you're right. I mean, compared to week after week after week, they're 10, 20 times better than what they were at the start of the season. I mean, there's holes, they're blocking, they're giving A-Chain's running better. Pass protection, I'm not worried about because they've done a decent job with that already. You just can't – if they bring 6 or 7, you only have 5 or 6 guys there. You can't block that. I mean, it's just –
I will tell you this. In pass protection, they had a couple of times where they had some of those stunts and different things that they picked up well. They had a couple that they didn't. There was one pressure up the middle with the linebacker that came late. They sort of slanted the defensive line across. Foster didn't come back and help on that side, and they brought the linebacker, came free.
Yeah.
So hey, look, Foster still got some. He's still working through some things now. It is what it is. Look, Wyckoff. I still think Wyckoff performed better 2 weeks ago than Foster has played so far. Maybe Foster will get to that point. We'll see. He has gotten better and better, so that helps.
Right.
But more importantly, the 2 guards have gotten better. And, they keep starting Aggie, and Aggie had a better game today. I think Moko still usually gets the better side of things. I think he's more consistent. But those guys are getting playing time, and both of them are getting in there, and both of them improved. Neither one of them really – just was disappointing to the point where it hurt the offense on a regular basis, right?
Right.
So let's talk about this offense. Look, in our last pod, we pre-gamed this thing, and we talked about a few things. We said we want to see these guys come out in more two tight ends, more two backs, do some more boot action, do some things of that nature, right? Use the power, use the sweep. You know, instead of zone as much. What did they do this week? More two tight end sets, more two back sets, a lot more sets in a lot more use of the power of the sweep, pulling guys instead of just zone blocking. We talked about the boot action, getting Max out from behind the offensive line. They did some boot action and had some plays off of that. One of them, crown over, you know, got the catch on that. And then unfortunately it was brought back because LJ jumped in the backfield, but it was a nice looking play. There was a pass to Brown out in the flat that he went and took for a pretty good gain. So there was, you know, I thought those things helped out not only in the passing game, but they clearly helped out A-Chain in the running game. The blocking schemes were a lot better, man. And I thought A-Chain could have had a couple of runs where he could have gotten more yards. There was one of the sweeps, you know, where they sit in there and they pull center guard tackle kind of situation and pull him around to the outside. A-Chain could have cut it back, you know, after getting outside, could have cut it back inside, and boy, he'd have had a little ways to run, and he ends up getting like 4, I think, on that one, and trying to bounce it on that sweep. But those changes started to develop a little bit, man. They started to look good. The offense started to look a little bit more comfortable, almost like a competent offense at times, right? It's not, you know, last year's Western Kentucky or whatever, spread it out, whatever, but it's effective, right? It's an effective offense, efficient whenever they sit there and do I
got to start the games better. I mean, 4 3-and-outs to start the game. Not 1 3-and-out, 4. I mean, we were behind the 8 ball. I mean, we started the game 14-0. We spotted on 14 points. And what do we have to do different? Something's got to happen there. It's got to give. We got to get a sustained drive just to get momentum, something, make it easier. I don't know, but something's got to happen. Because, I mean, you and I were talking and watching the first quarter of that game, text messaging, still the same shit, same old thing going on. And, you know.
No, and you're 100%, you know, I mean, that's one of those things. They still had a slow start. And as I was looking through it, you know, it felt to me like early on, you know, it's sort of a lot of the same issues. And I'm just sort of pulling up some of my notes here, but at the end of the day, there's still issues with this. There's still issues with the offense, right? I mean, for example, I mean, just a couple of things that they need to continue to improve on. So they called the play action pass a couple of times. Linebackers bite hard. Boom. And he fakes, for example, over here to the right. And next thing you know, you're throwing an out route to the left. Well, that play action, what you're trying to aim for is the linebackers, the safeties to really come in. And why are you throwing an out type of route, a route to the sidelines, right? If you're going to do that and stay under center, your routes should be right there in the middle. There should be a slant. There should be a little in route. There should be a post. You know what I mean?
Right.
And unfortunately, that's not what we're running. We're throwing some shit outside where we've just affected the interior of that defense. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I do understand.
I don't get that. I really don't get that. So are there still things to work on? Yeah, for sure.
Lots.
For sure. A lot. But a lot. Look, still a lot to be happy about and a lot to be excited about. So another thing is, you know, like we talked about, there was those the touchdown pass where, look, we line up in the empty, and those guys are clearly bringing the pressure, right? They're bringing, they're showing it. They're bringing the pressure. Where's the quick slant route or a little rub route with the inside guy and the outside guy coming back underneath, right? Something quick that you can get the ball out quick to a very empty middle of the field, by the way. So, things like that still need to be worked out. Jimbo, once again, he's got his tendencies that come into play. For example, you go down, you have that drive, we score, and then we come back and it's back to the passing game. We score on the run. A-Chain has that run up the middle, and that a lot of that drive was on the ground, running the power, running the sweeps, pulling guys one way, pulling them the other, and then all of a sudden we come back, we change it up, right? And so, like, the things that are working, he always likes to revert back to the things he likes to do, though. So I don't know. There's still a lot to be said. There's still a lot to be done. There's still more changes that need to be made. But it still had moments where you knew it was better. And that's the thing, right? 5 sacks, Corey. 5 sacks. At least 3 of them were Max. At least 3 of them were Max's fault. Yeah, holding the ball. And then there was a play. Well, there was a play that he ended up getting real close to a first down on. They come in, they rush, the tackle, Zune is getting driven a little bit, but he holds up. Aki's sitting there holding up pretty good. And he sort of just, I guess, started getting uncomfortable, and he tries to exit in between the two right there. And he gets pressured, almost gets brought down, but he ends up breaking out of the tackle and gets about 9, almost a first down. And there was another one where he sort of ran into it and didn't make a play. There was a good run where he ended up getting a first down. And he could have thrown it over the middle to, I believe it was Stewart in the middle, and gotten him an opportunity to let that guy run instead of him. But, so he's not perfect by any means in his decision making. He's going to continue to cause some extra sacks, but once again, protect the football, right? All right, so I don't want to be, overly harsh on that, right? There's it was a good game. It was a good game for the Aggies. It was a win. They came back. They got a chance. They gave themselves a chance with that offense. Did the offense win the game? No, but they gave themselves a chance. So, I don't know. If you had to grade this offense on Saturday, what would you say?
First 4 drives, F. After that, I'd say about probably a C+ to a B. I don't think it was great. I think we could have gashed this defense. We didn't take advantage of the secondary like I thought we could have. The secondary led the nation in yards given up. We knew they were going to bring pressure. It just doesn't look like we're prepared for this. We know what they do, and we're not prepared. That's frustrating. It's frustrating as hell to me. It's like, okay, they're going to bring pressure. They lead the nation in sacks. They get 5. Are we going to do something about it? We didn't do anything about it. Do we keep an extra guy in to protect?
Did we throw a screen pass?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, do you do something a little bit different? Mm-hmm. And what was it, that one play that we had that who was open in the flat and LJ started? You remember Crownover was open?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I love that play, but we didn't go back to anything like that.
Didn't go back to it.
And he was wide open.
That was 2 tight ends, 2 backs in that formation, by the way. Yeah. With Max and Green at tight end, and then Crownover, LJ in the backfield.
But I'm not trying to be hard on the offense. I'm being harder on the offensive coordinator. I don't really think –
yeah.
I still think they're not putting us in situations to succeed.
And I do think that Max is feeling the pressure to a certain extent. I mean, he had a couple of bobbled snaps, right?
Right.
Where he just, and it made it harder on him. So some different things there. Now, once again, he did have a couple of times he escaped. He got out and got a first down, got close to a first down. The guy is playing hard. I'm not going to fault him for that. And he didn't turn the ball over. So
he didn't lose the game for us. Max did not lose the game for us. I mean, I wouldn't say he won the game for us, but he didn't lose it. He didn't sit there and turn the ball over. He didn't put us in terrible situations. Like, I think if we would have had another quarterback in there, I'm not going to say his name. I'm afraid that he might have done the ball the other team and set them up. You know?
Yeah.
It's not like I dislike that guy. I just want to make sure that people understand what we're getting. Max is a good, competent quarterback. He takes care of the ball, and that's what we need right now. We need somebody to take care of the ball. Later on, when our defense is a lot better and our offense is more explosive, we could use somebody like the other quarterback.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, so he played okay. He played okay. That's about as good as you can say him.
Yeah,
but
I expected more.
He didn't lose the game for us, right? All right, so player of the game, offensive player of the game. I think this is a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, A-Chain.
There's no question. We're not going to spend a lot of time that he was the offensive player of the game. He was the overall player of the game. He was everything. Look, now the one other thing that we haven't really talked about, Aeneas. Aeneas ends up getting hurt. He gets rolled up on as he's blocking by one of the guys. Ankle broken leg, right?
Yeah, sucks. It's awful.
Out for the season, unfortunately. Look, senior year, man. Senior year too, buddy. He came back for this. I feel it for the kid. You know how much I think this guy can play. I mean, I've said it 1,000 times. He's the best football player on this team because he will do everything. He will block. He will block. He will run. He will catch. He will get in the mix, man. If they ask him to, he'll go play defense, man. That dude is unbelievable. And how'd he get hurt? He got hurt blocking, man. I mean, getting after it. A big block, a good block too,
Yeah.
So I feel it for him. I also feel it for this offense because it's going to hurt, right?
You say that. I think it's going to give more opportunities to different players. I mean, you see it happen all the time in different teams. Guys get hurt, and it actually improves the team later on. If he ever comes back or if he does come back, I know you're saying it's senior year, but they have a red shirt they can do. It's only the fourth game they're talking about. He could, I don't know, Aeneas wants to go pro, but, he might see the team next year and be like, hey, I want to come back. If he does come back, somebody's going to have to step up. Moose, Marshall, Stewart's already doing it. We already seen it from Stewart, so you can't really count him in here. Green, the tight end's already getting some looks. Didn't see anything in Price or Preston, but we have talent. That's one position.
Yeah.
Nice. I mean, now if we lose A-Chain.
Noah Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying if we lost somebody like A-Chain where we don't have that back that's giving us any production, I'd be like, oh, season's screwed. We lose Aeneas. I'm not going to say the season's screwed because of Aeneas, but I think we have other players that can.
You may not say the season's screwed, but we're not as good. I don't give a crap who you put in there. We're not going to be as good.
You lose.
We don't have a better player than Aeneas. He's not sitting back there just, oh wait, give me a chance. No, that's not going to happen, right? No. That dude is a beast. He's a beast at every level. Like I said, does it all.
I mean, you're going to miss him on special teams. You're going to miss him on special teams. I mean, he's electric. Oh yeah, it is going to hurt. It's going to hurt. But I mean, I'm trying to look at the positive. You know, I think the other guys can step up, which they should. We have the talent at the wide receiver position. I mean,
look, Keith Brown and Moose Muhammad all of a sudden have to come up and and play, right? Those two guys, I think, are key because between the both of them, not one or the other, but between the both of them, maybe you can get what you were getting out of Aeneas.
Absolutely.
So those two guys have an opportunity,
and more so with Moose if he gets his head on his shoulders and quits, and he gets more playing time.
Absolutely.
I think Moose is definitely in line to be the new Aeneas.
Yeah, no, I agree. On that, I do agree. I think that there's an opportunity there, but I do. It's going to hurt us. Look, let's shift over to the defense. Look, gives some yards, but they made some huge plays. And KJ was 12 of 19, 171 yards, 2 touchdowns, then 18 rushes for 105 carries with another touch. I mean, the guy had a good game. But this game changed on one play. This game changed on one play.
Yeah.
One. Arkansas is driving down the field, and they're moving the ball. They're going in. They're at what? The 2-yard line?
Something like that. Yeah.
2-yard line. KJ takes the snap, comes in. He's going to do a dive into the end zone. And Russell kind of just gets a little bit of his hand right there. Ball pops out. Chappelle, it's like it was like, ooh.
Yeah.
And gone.
Well, he wasn't
He's
gone.
He's gone. Until, wait a minute. He does get caught. Apparently, Chappelle, not the fastest dude on the field. He gets caught. And what does he do? He just hands it off to Richardson.
Yeah.
He hands it off to Richardson, who goes ahead and finishes this deal. Play of the year for Damani Richardson.
Yeah.
Play of the year for Damani Richardson. Just unbelievable. He gets his touchdown. On a win against a number 10 team in the country. That was the play of the game. Hands down. Not even close. 14-point swing.
Yeah, huge. That was huge. That was the play of the game by far. I mean, the guy I didn't even want to see play had a great game, Russell. I was talking about it before the game. I was like, oh, man, This guy Russell, they just need to bench him, put somebody else in. He proved me wrong. He shut me up.
Look, he was going to play. We knew he was going to play. He played better. We talked about it going into the game. Look, that guy, they need to just simplify for him. He's got to be focused in on the run game inside, and that's it. And that's what it looks like that's what they told him. Look, your responsibility is right here in the box. Forget the motions. And Arkansas didn't use a ton of misdirection, motion type stuff, right? But his focus was in there. And he came to play. He had a big sack in a play where Shamar Turner comes in, brings pressure up the middle, forces KJ out, and Russell comes in late and pops him, right? So he had some big plays. But I'm going to tell you what, that play right there that we're talking about, that play right there, that touchdown by the defense, changed the complexion of the game. It also changed Arkansas's mentality, because after that, where before that, they were ground and pound, right up the middle. All of a sudden, you saw them, and they were trying to throw the ball a little bit more. Don't get me wrong, they're still running the football, but not as much. It's like all of a sudden they were questioning what they were doing. You know what I mean?
After that one play.
After that one play.
Yep.
So, 14-point swing. They were about to be up 21 points, right?
Right.
They were about to go up 21-0. You go turn it around. All of a sudden, it's 14-7. You get a stop, and then you come back and score. Should have tied it, but unfortunately, we missed an extra point.
Something else.
Everything looked doom and gloom for the Aggies, right? Just absolute doom and gloom. That play happens. Defense gets pumped up. The energy's through the roof. The crowd is going wild. Offense comes back down and gets a score. Defense gets more pumped up because all of a sudden the offense is contributing. Boom. Win. I know, and look, that was early in the game, right? That was in the first half. Changed the game. Changed the entirety of the game.
Yeah. They were about to go up, 21-0? That's big.
I'm going to tell you two guys. Antonio Johnson was a monster all day long. Had his best game of the year. The dude was playing 100%. He was playing, and they were lining him up at the deep safety a bunch, and he was coming downhill from the deep safety, making plays in the running game.
Yeah.
Over and over again, because once again, we line up in our 3-man line. We used the 3-man line all day. And so he ends up being the overlap player on a lot of those occasions. And the dude was, he just showed up every time. Led the team in tackles on Saturday, by the way.
Yeah.
Unbelievable performance by Antonio. The other guy that I was super, super impressed with, and the stat sheet doesn't really show it, but it's Chappelle. Look, all of a sudden, they're using Chappelle all over the field on that defense. There was times they lined up in basically a 3-4 defense where your two outside linebackers were Chappelle and Damani. But they were lined up in there as basically outside linebacker. Chappelle weighs what? 185 pounds?
Yeah.
That dude was getting his head in there every time. He was the run support guy. He was the force guy on the edge of the line of scrimmage. He played a bunch of nickel. They played him some on the outside. The dude moved all over the field for that defense and made plays wherever they put him. Super impressed with Chappelle. Look, the secondary overall played pretty well. They blew a couple of coverages. The touchdown down the middle, Miles Jones, and it was actually Antonio was back there, but Gilbert was also the other safety back there. I think Gilbert ended up biting on the left side on a hitch that was already double covered, and so when the post came across, he couldn't help there. He probably should have sat back and stayed with it, but Antonio came in and took the under on the right side, kind of left Miles in a bad spot out there at the corner coming underneath. He should have had help from one of those guys, probably Gilbert, to come over there and sort of take that away. Ended up in a touchdown, pretty easy touchdown there for them, but not a lot of blown coverages otherwise. There was a few times Miles was sort of back, giving the guys room. They had some easy completions on the outside. Nothing against Miles Jones, Corey. I don't understand why he's on the field.
He's not going to be. He had an injury. He's done for the season pretty much after that game.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. I feel bad for him on that sense. That's not what I wanted. I don't want an injury, but I'll just tell you, he is not the best cover guy out there. We've got better. So,
well, they're going to get a chance to play. What's up with the defensive line? What Rakes, Jackson? I didn't see a lot of guys I expected to see play.
McKinley's still out, right? McKinley's still out, not playing. Apparently just continues to have problems with the elbow and different things there. Rakes didn't play on Saturday either, by the way.
Yeah.
Rakes didn't play. So it was Shamar Turner inside. It was Regis inside. Nolan inside. I would have liked to see more Nolan, but I guess they didn't want to overdo it with the coming off of the injury and the thing. Yeah. So, but those guys were really the guys. Regis kind of took a step back. I didn't think he played very good. He got blown up a few times. Turner was good at times, really good. So some different guys got in there. That rotation needs to continue. We need to get some of those guys back. Obviously, the day we get McKinley Jackson back, Brunlow Dindy back, all those things are going to get better. Getting Rakes back as well. Those things, that defense is going to continue to get better inside. And it might have been a contributing factor, obviously, to the 3-man line all day. Corey.
Seriously. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We can't be giving up over 400 yards of offense and expect to win games. That's not going to happen very often. That defense needs to be more aggressive. This whole bend, don't break thing, it's not going to work against team coming up this weekend, the team after that, the following weekend. I mean, you play Alabama, Mississippi State, these teams are going to take advantage of that 3-man front.
Look, LSU's getting better, right? I mean,
yeah. I
mean, you're going to continue to see opponents that can beat you. Ole Miss is out there for sure. So that, there's a number of guys. You're going to have to continue to improve.
In 400 yards off defense is not. Don't get me wrong. I was impressed by the big play, but other than that, I mean,
Fidel Diggs really didn't show up a lot. You didn't see him make a ton of plays out there. He was out there. He just, not a ton. I thought Shamar Stewart played pretty well.
Yeah. He got dinged up a little bit.
He got dinged up at one point. Lucas, I continue not to be overly impressed with Lucas right now. He's just, it seems to me like he's a little bit slow off the ball, but he's a freshman, man, and he's getting put in
Exactly.
a position to have to go out there and produce as a freshman. So we'll see how he continues to develop. But, those guys at the end of the day did their job for the most part.
Gotcha.
Right? They weren't exceptional, but they were okay.
Is it enough to beat Mississippi State?
We'll talk about Mississippi State later in the week.
Okay.
I will say this. I think we match up well against Mississippi State.
The first.
All right. So, look, the other thing is they did start bringing blitzes. He started bringing the linebackers more. Some of the reason that you've got you had a better performance from Russell, right? They started bringing some of the corners and different things, so that's all good. All right. Defensive player of the game. What do you got?
I guess it has to be Russell. That's my guess. I mean, Antonio played great. Chappelle played great, but the big plays, I'm a big play guy. You give me a stop on the goal line, a punch out, a sack, those are big plays. That's what I want to see. I want to see a guy causing turnovers, causing havoc, and Russell did that on at least 2 plays. Russell's my defensive player of the game.
I don't know. I think it's Antonio. I think it's Antonio. Actually, I'm going to go Antonio 100%.
That's fair.
And Russell had some big plays. Don't get me wrong.
Chappelle's right there.
Game change. Yeah, and Chappelle's right there.
Yeah.
But to me, those guys were the really the force of the week. And a guy that I was actually disappointed in was Cooper. Speaking of linebackers, but overall, those guys are playing hard either way. So
Cooper couldn't decide if he was
proud of him.
If he was spying the quarterback or spying the running back half the time. And I mean, he just looked like he couldn't. Why can't they communicate? I don't understand.
Yeah, no, it's still needing some work, and I don't know if he's just sort of down on himself right at the moment. But look, we leaned on him to win this game, and they came through. So you can't be overly critical, but at the same time, there's some guys there that need to continue to get better. Right. All right, Corey. Questions from the tailgate brought to you by Carney's Pub and Grill. Good times, good drinks, good people. All right, most improvement. 2 areas. Most improvement. Where do we see the most improvement from the 2 teams, from the offense and the defense?
Where do we see it, or what do we still need to improve?
Where do we still need to improve? Sorry, question's a little confusing, but I'm going to go with where do we still need to improve.
Play calling still needs to improve. Schemes are putting our offensive line in bad situations. I thought the offensive line played a lot better. The play calling, I still don't like. I don't like the play calling on defense or offense. Neither one. I think we have too much talent to be playing that weak of defense, and I think we know what we need to do on offense, and we're not doing it. We get away from running the ball after we have success with it. It makes no sense.
Yeah, and actually, I'm gonna answer both of those questions. Where did we see the most improvement? I think we saw the most improvement in some of the formations.
Yeah, I like the formations.
But we need to continue to develop the schemes with some of those formations.
Right.
The two back, 2 tight ends, the tight sets, the bunch sets, different things that we did there. And I thought, like you said, the play of Russell was an improvement defensively that we see. Where do we continue to see it? Like you said, offensively, I think we need to continue to see it in the offensive line. But that they've showed to be able to do that. I think Jimbo needs to also continue to be willing to do the things that are necessary by using some of those formations, some of the motions, some of the different tight sets, some of the the groupings, different things of that nature. So continued improvement there. Defensively, 100% the linebackers need to continue to play better, right?
Right.
Continue to play better. Health by the defensive line, I guess, is another one. Question 2, how does this win change the outlook on the season, Corey?
Everything's still in front of us. Everything we want to do, minus the App State game, yeah, it's a loss, but it's not an SEC loss. We just got to win. If we win every game ugly, we win every game ugly. But, hey, we'll take it.
That's absolutely correct. All of a sudden, you go from a team that's sort of looking a little disheartened, a fan base that's, a little disheartened, all of a sudden, every game is just as important as Arkansas, starting with this week's, right? Mississippi State. If you turn around and lose to Mississippi State, the Arkansas win didn't mean much, right? So at this point, you've got everything in front of you. App State doesn't matter because if you win the SEC West, you're going to be in competition for the playoffs. So you got everything you want, right?
There you go.
Keep getting better.
There you go.
Aggies, gig 'em. AP, Corey, signing out.